Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Hi, I'm Jackie Kashian. You're listening to the Dork Forest. It is available on all of the websites, and including iTunes and Stitcher and YouTube. And if you go to dorkforest.com or jackiekashian.com, you'll find links to all of it. And then I have another podcast with Lori Kilmartin just about stand-up comedy. But this is the Dork Forest, and it's January 2020, so Happy New Year, and feel free to start donating again. That's right. Donations went off last year, and I don't blame you, but think of me. And PayPal will let you do it monthly if you want, but I understand if you don't want, because monthly is its own commitment. But the people who do it monthly, I said do. I totally appreciate that. But there is also going to be new merch. I'm phasing out one of the Dork Forest t-shirts. I think it's the black one. It might be the green one. The green one's almost completely out of stock, so I think it might be the Dork Forest one itself. But feel free to try and order stuff so that I can get those two new shirts on the website, because right now the merch page is a bit crowded, shall we say. By the way, my website is done by Vilmos. You know that. The song that was just sang was composed by Mike Rickberg. He'll sing his version of the Mexican hat dance at the end of the program, and Patrick Brady is going to fix this audio and has been doing it for these many years, and I genuinely appreciate that about him so much. The new shirts are going to be a shirt with a bunch of my dad's sayings and a drawing of his face on that Jenny Fine did. And Jenny Fine, of course, was the artist who did the Meat Shield t-shirt, and she also did the art for the Horcrux album and DVD. You can get all of my old merch still at jackiekashian.com, and the new merch, feel free to email me, jackie@jackiekashian.com, and we'll figure it out, is what I'm saying. I'm going to record a new album in 2020, but I don't know where or when. Feel free to come and watch me work on the new hour. At jackiekashian.com has all my tour dates, and at Jackie Kashian on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. There's also a Dork Forest Ranger page that you can get into. Donations, PayPal, Venmo, do whatever you need to do. But I'm very appreciative of everybody's support over the last 13 years. Let's get into some dorkdoms, shall we? Well, okay, so what I am now recording. 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, it's Jackie Kashian. I am trying. We tried to do this several years ago, Darla Kashian. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Well, we have almost the same voice, so this will be fun for people.
You should record the Zoom.
We could also record the Zoom and see if that's a thing. I wonder. Record on this computer. There we go. We're also going to record on this computer. This is the Dork Forest, and I'm talking with my sister, Darla Kashian. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
And so many files will be created, not as many as Patrick Brady would like. He enjoys a file being created via Zencastr, but we're all learning that our laptops have hardware issues.
As does mine.
Yeah, mine, the headphone jack doesn't work, and yours, the microphone doesn't work.
Or the camera, or all kinds of issues.
But here we are in an exciting time for your dorkdom, Darla Kashian. First of all, what is your Twitter handle?
Bossy Magoo.
Bossy Magoo. And Magoo is spelled with one G. You went with a radical change.
The 2G might have been taken.
So. Oh, fair enough. Okay, so we tried to do this seven or 8 years ago. We went to lunch and tried to talk about cooking. And now we're in a time when I've ordered stuff from the grocery store and they're like, we may not have flour. Would you like oyster crackers? No, I wouldn't. I don't know what to do with it.
You can do things with oyster crackers.
I don't know what to do. You would know how to do something with oyster crackers. I would not.
I would. Yeah.
So what we're going to talk about is what we can do, because you love to cook, and these are challenging times.
These are challenging times indeed.
Because you also have 2 children who eat different foods. And so I like the idea of learning what the fuck you're doing. What are you doing with the food?
I'm trying to use everything in the house, which occasionally is very disturbing to the children. And also to use everything in the freezer, which recently turned into what we call chicken and crumbs. That's what I would use the oyster crackers for.
Oh.
You take boneless thighs, preferably, because whoever invented the boneless chicken breast, which I think was chicken, it's a crime. It's a crime against food. So, but boneless thighs, and then you roll them in crumbs, panko usually. But you could use oyster crackers.
Or cornflakes, I bet.
Yeah, and but you can also use pheasant if a buddy of yours happened to drop off a bunch of pheasant in the freezer.
Wow. That does feel Depression era. Someone's hunting.
Someone's dropping off wild game.
Right. So. If this is still going on next winter, will you, Darla Kashian, start a trap line?
Spied a few turkeys over by the Menards in St. Paul on University Avenue. I don't think I didn't consider just, driving by and opening the door and seeing if I could knock one out. But...
That is such a hobo way to hunt.
Well, I don't believe in guns.
Right, you don't. It's not like you have weaponry.
Right.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
And they were plump. I mean, they were certainly. I mean, who knows what they eat over at University and Pryor in St. Paul, but.
That is hilarious. So, you probably keep staples around the house, right?
I do, yeah.
I'm a big fan of the staples. I feel rich, and who's sitting pretty now? Because I always feel rich if we have extra toilet paper around. So we're doing good toilet paper wise.
Here's the thing, Jackie. You might not remember this, but we frequently, as children, ran out of toilet paper.
Yes.
I feel like I came to hoarding authentically with a traumatic childhood that said, if you got down to 12 rolls, somebody should go to Target. You should also shop at Target like you might die the next day. So get everything you possibly can.
Right, just so that...
I've been Depression era since
our own childhood depression.
Exactly.
It was just poverty thinking, it was literally...
Correct.
So to have backup toilet paper, I have been mocked openly by my loved one and friends who are like, do you have enough toilet paper? I'm like, I don't know. Do I? Because I like to have 16 to 20 rolls of toilet paper sitting around. So we're sitting on, I think, about a dozen rolls of toilet paper. And get this, when we were in Vietnam a year and a half ago, Andy fell in love with the hose. So he installed a hose on our toilet.
That is a lot of information. So I still think you need something to dry off that.
Right. It's, I guess there's trouble with tampons and stuff, too. Where
we stocked up on those. I'm past the era.
I'm 5 months into not having it being an issue. I think I'm done. But we do if I were to somehow decide to have a last gasp at fertility, I say ? Here's
the thing: it's post-apocalyptic if you have to go back.
Right, so. And it seems unlikely, but I have thought about putting them out with the word "free" on them, because I think there is probably someone in my neighborhood who needs them.
No doubt. No doubt. So pantry-wise, tampons good to have in the pantry, especially if you have people of age, which we do in our house.
There you go.
But I think that there are other things that it's been hilarious to go to the grocery store, and you go to the bulk food section, and all the dry beans are gone.
They're gone?
And I'm thinking, what are these people going to do with dried beans? It's like somebody buying a frozen turkey the day before Thanksgiving. Right? They have no idea what they're doing. And you've never cooked a dry bean, and now you've decided that you're going to embark on black bean soup with
Dried beans. Maybe you got an Instapot.
Perhaps you got an Instapot, which I do have one of those as well. So I find that sort of hilarious, the things that people are hoarding, which seems kind of ridiculous to me.
Right, because if you don't know how to make beans, and how, because you have to soak them over, like with regular beans, you get a dried bean. Let's talk people through it.
Yeah. So you can soak them overnight. You don't have to, but you can also just, you're not going anywhere, right? So you're sitting home. You can throw beans on the stove. So most important thing is wash them because, well, especially these days, who knows who touched them. And people should know I have a lot of issues. Again, issues I had before. This is not new. I would order gloves by the case, and now my gloves are unavailable. So
right, you get on the ground floor of, hey, I don't want to touch meat with my bare hands,
or kind of mostly anything. So,
right.
But yeah, wash them because you'll find rocks and stones and COVID-19 stuck in your dried beans. So. Be sure to rinse them off and pick out all the things that you don't want to eat.
That aren't a bean. So rinse a bean because there's other stuff in them. There's rocks in them. Why are there rocks in them?
Well, or like little pebbles and stuff because beans come from nature.
Right, they come from they're on the ground like animals, like dirt. Yeah, that's what they grow out of, Jackie. Okay.
Correct. So go through your beans, rinse them off, and then the most important thing is bring water to boil. Make sure there's plenty of water, and don't salt the water.
Don't salt the water.
Do not salt the water because that will keep them from getting soft.
Oh.
And be patient, right? So throw the beans on. You can put some seasoning, a bay leaf if you care for that. If you're in the Twin Cities, I have a bay leaf plant. You need one of those, maybe 2 a year. I have 40 of them.
They just dug up our rosemary plant in the backyard, and there's part of me that also wants to stack that on the curb and say, does anyone need any rosemary?
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially the kind of rosemary you grow out there where they have a big, thick. You can use those as skewers.
Oh, yeah, you could. Right, we could do meat. Yeah, we could do meat skewers.
On the grill.
Yeah.
So, so beans, really important. Here's the other thing. You would think, growing up the way we did, I'd be a proficient maker of rice.
Yeah.
But not so much. Mostly because I'm just not.
I love
make
rice.
A good pilaf. Yeah. But if you're just making plain rice, like the other day I made buttered chicken. And it, requires a side of rice. And so the way I like to make rice is, again, you bring a pot of water to boil. This you can salt and should salt with kosher salt if you happen to have it, but that might be hard to come by these days. I already had 2 boxes in the pantry, so I've been waiting for this moment. I mean, this is my best.
Right.
So.
This is the rainy day that Grandma was talking about.
Exactly.
One day it's going to rain, she'd say.
If you have a fine sieve, like something that you would drain pasta, but not a big colander, but more of a sieve.
Yeah.
You can actually boil rice like pasta and then just drain it.
Oh, weird.
And then if you want it to be really fluffy, you can rinse it off to stop the cooking. And
weird.
Here's the other thing. You can do that, and you can also freeze rice. So you don't want it to get gummy, but you rinse it off in cold water. It gets all the starch off of it. Lay it out flat on a sheet pan.
Mm-hmm.
And then once it's cooled off, you can freeze it in little Ziploc bags. So, if you're living alone and you're thinking, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do
with 5 pounds of rice?
Yeah. And then you can easily microwave it or use it for fried rice. We happen to have a lot of rice in the freezer because anytime you order Chinese food, you get more rice than you need.
Right.
And so I always just freeze the extra rice.
Well, that's a good idea.
Ziploc bag, and then use it for fried rice or rice and eggs.
Yeah. Rice and eggs is good.
So it's really good.
So I want to go back to the beans here for a second because you've got the beans in the water and it's cold. And then you bring that water and beans to a boil. And
bring the water to a boil first.
Oh, and then add the beans.
Yeah.
And
so while you're sorting through the beans, taking out the rocks,
right.
rinsing them off, put a pot of water to boil.
And unsalted, and then you put the beans in, and then
Yep.
it's not boiling anymore because you've added something cold to it. But you don't want to have a rolling boil on those beans for a long time, right?
Nope, you just want to have them simmering, and it's going to take a while, right? But again, where are you going? What are you doing?
Right.
No.
It might take 3 hours, but if you soak them overnight, I remember soaking beans. In the 90s, I knew hippies, right? I worked at Northern Sun. And you'd soak the beans with a piece of seaweed, kombu, Kombu, and it would be a salted, and it had salt because it was seaweed, but it supposedly did something to make the beans less gassy.
Interesting. And that might be important if you're quarantined.
Right, because you don't want to have gas. Right, if you're hunkered down, you don't need to be farting like crazy. And so now you've the beans are now soft. What do you do with them now?
Well, all kinds of things. So, you can make soup with them. Again, you can freeze cooked beans. So if you're going to make beans and then you want to, we do a lot of like eggs and beans and chips. Like, you just toast corn chips in a pan.
Oh, wow.
Throw a handful of black beans on top. This is where, this is some of the, like, where you're going to find some extra veggies snuck into food. If you have a little handful of leftover broccoli or, this morning we had half a baked potato that got tossed in with that as well.
Okay.
And then a little, so think about, if you're trying to stretch your budget a little bit these days.
Yeah.
A handful of beans in with the eggs is an inexpensive, really complete protein.
Oh, that's true.
And it's going to give you a little bit more texture. You could throw some salsa, or any of those sorts of things in as well.
Right. Do you have favorite spices?
Yeah, it was funny, actually. So I saw on Twitter that somebody was having trouble finding garlic in the D.C. area.
Okay.
And I don't know if you consider garlic a spice, but...
I consider it delicious.
Yes. So my favorite things are onions, garlic, parsley, and lemon. So that goes a long way with everything. If you're, it's almost spring here in the Twin Cities. Throw some parsley seeds to grow wherever you are. So those are really my favorites.
Onions, garlic, parsley, and what?
Lemon.
Lemon. Okay.
Yeah. And so my son loves this Greek spice called yayabi.
How do you spell that?
We got it Yayab.
Okay.
And it's just a Greek seasoning salt.
Okay.
It's so weird. He will eat anything if it has yayabi on it, and the kid won't eat anything. So,
right.
We were just getting down to the end of the bottle that we bought at the Greek Church Festival this summer.
Okay.
And I went online and ordered 4 bottles of it from Rochester, Minnesota.
Where the Greeks are busy making yayabi. Andy and I...
Somebody is in their basement making it.
Right. For Andy's birthday, he asked for weird food that he might not have tried before. And his friend Angel and Eric gave him this Japanese crunchy garlic oil.
Ooh, yum.
And it is delicious. We have ordered jars of it. We have 3 jars. We're luckily... It on anything. That stuff is amazing.
On anything, yeah.
I should hook you up with that.
I would love that. Like anything that gives, like boring things extra flavor now, I think are really important. So, I have like a Hawaiian poke seasoning that's sesame, seaweed, garlic.
Wow.
Probably has MSG in it and stuff.
Sure, making
something like that you can toss again with eggs or plain rice or beans and that sort of thing is, I think, really good.
Yeah, anything you can toss with rice and beans to make it more interesting. If you end up sitting on a 5-pound bag of rice and several different kinds of beans. Like, what are the different beans that you're eating?
So among the things, because the boy mostly does not enjoy the animal products, so
Right.
we're always looking for ways to get, unless it's a cured meat, in which case he's very interested. So salamis, prosciuttos, things like that.
Oh, okay. A Zingerman's box.
Yeah, when you did that, I mean, that was his like.
He was like, what is
great
this?
delight. Sandwiches with sauce, Thousand Island dressing. You know, the guy has a gourmet chef for a mom, and he's like, what I love is that pizza from the freezer.
Oh, the freezer pizza. Well, he is a 10-year-old boy, so.
Yes. We do a fair amount of oven roasted chickpeas. And again, if you, hopefully none of you bought dried chickpeas, which are the hardest. They're taking a long time. The ones from the can are delightful. There is no need to go to the effort of your own dried chickpeas.
You know what I bought that I've never been able, eventually had to just give them away because I didn't know what the hell to do with them, was hominy.
Oh, yeah. Homony's hard, although, again...
I never got it soft. Absolutely never.
Again, something well done in a can. So
Yeah, they're nailing it in the can business.
So we take the chickpeas and drain them, and if you're a vegan, you can use the water from chickpeas as an egg substitute.
Oh, as a what kind of substitute?
Egg.
Oh, egg.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
does it coagulate when you fry it?
Yeah. No, more for baking.
Oh, okay.
If something calls for eggs, you can use and
chickpea juice.
Works really well. I on the other hand enjoy an egg, but
right.
So we just take the chickpeas, dry them off a little bit, and then oven roast them with yayabi. That's going to sound like an ad, or any kind of seasoning that you'd want, like an Italian dry spice mix or an Indian spice mix works really well.
Mm-hmm.
And roast them until they get crunchy.
Okay.
So for an hour or so at 400. And then it's like a snack food, but it's 100% protein.
Oh, right. And there's
delicious.
Nothing, and it's just spices and beans.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's got to be healthy for you.
And it's healthy and delicious and super easy to make. And depending on what spices you use at the house.
Right. That's great. So you're doing chickpeas. You ever make like red beans and rice or black beans or? I used to my hippie days. I used to love a can of Aduki beans.
Oh, I you know what? Somebody was calling for a minute, so I missed some of that. But Aduki beans, I've never been able to cook with them. They're hard as rocks. Oh,
right. They also revel in the canned good because they also can them and they're delicious.
Easiest bean ever, lentils.
Oh,
so green lentils, brown lentils, they cook quickly, less than 30 minutes.
What are the difference between them? Is there one?
Yeah, there's French lentils, which are smaller and they hold their texture better.
Okay.
And then the kinds of lentils that we grew up with were like more the brown or the green.
Yeah.
That are softer. But honestly, this easiest lentil soup ever, saute in these proportions.
Okay.
Half onion, a quarter carrot, a quarter celery.
Okay.
And as much garlic as you want or don't. Saute those. Add, a cup or two of lentils, some stock, some parsley, some spinach. It's a great way to sneak vegetables in.
Okay. Yeah, we have Swiss chard that has volunteered to grow in our backyard.
Yeah.
So
that you could also use to make. Do you remember when Grandma used to make sarma with them?
With Swiss chard?
Yeah.
I knew she did it with cabbage, but I didn't know it was Swiss chard. They substituted ground beef for chuck at Whole Foods when they delivered some meat the other day. So we have some we have ground beef.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's so super easy to use it for that purpose.
But we only have one onion. One sole onion, though one of our Armenian neighbors has what looks to be a 20-pound bag of yellow onions. And
they might hook you up.
They might hook me up. So...
Yeah. So I've been finding great success finding things like onions and garlic and even flour at the Asian market. So,
oh, yeah.
And then you can get some unusual vegetables as well.
Right, and they've also got they've got steamers and usually they have pots and pans if you find that you've never cooked before, and now you have to cook. So it's because if we're stuck like this for a couple of months, we got to learn how to cook. And
there's lots of good tutorials and things like that on YouTube, and But I think the other thing is that if you can follow instructions, you can cook. So now I can cook and I can't follow instructions. So the people who can follow things sequentially, I think, shouldn't have
a problem.
Have too many problems.
Shall I tell you? Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that that Maria Bamford, she will get a recipe. She'll look at it and then never look at it again and forget major parts of it. And then she's like, I get bored. I'm like, yeah, no, I get it. And then, except for that, like she was trying to make this thing she called a veggie pancake, but she was making it in a deep pot she would saute the vegetables and the batter together. It always ended up being a gross mess. But I remember the first time I tried to make Toll House cookies, I didn't realize that you were supposed to read the whole recipe, mix the dry ingredients on one side, the wet ingredients, and then combine them. So I just put the ingredients in on the list in that order.
In order?
Yes. They were not good.
Yeah, it's funny when I worked for Claudia and we wrote recipes.
Yes,
we wrote them in order because we knew people did that. And
that's right, because Claudia, what was Claudia's job again? You worked with Claudia.
Writing recipes, like on the, when you see a recipe on the back of a
canned good.
A canned good or a turkey product in the grocery store.
That was her job, right?
Right, and that was my job.
And that was your job, but she had been doing it for so long, and you were like, look at this cool thing. Because pretty fun. We were living together, and you would come home, and you're like, oh my God, substitutions. And the job was a lot about substitutions. Like what to make it fat-free or to...
Well, typically what happened was some company that had a specific product. Like, I think for months we wrote turkey recipes.
Oh, yeah.
Hired by a turkey processing, like a national distributor of raw turkey.
Of raw ground turkey, if I remember correctly.
Ground, tenderloin.
Okay.
Turkey breast, all of the things, turkey sausage. And so writing... so when you flip over the package and you see, turkey tetrazzini, those would be the recipes, right?
Okay.
And it had to be simple but delicious so that the average cook could make something in less than 30 minutes. So.
And it had to be short enough to fit on the back of the package?
Correct. And it had to be common ingredients that people would have. So most people are not sitting on a jar of pokies.
Right. I made chili the other day with we did get some stew meat delivered, and because I wanted ground beef for the chili, and they delivered stew meat, so I ordered stew meat and they sent ground beef. It's an interesting choice on their part. But the stew meat chili, it was a Texas chili recipe from, remember that guy on the Food Network named Tyler?
Oh, yeah.
He has the best meat recipes that I remember from back in the day, and his Texas chili recipe was amazing. I had to sub out a couple of, I don't own chilies, like chili peppers, and I don't have any dried peppers in the house. Do you have dried peppers in the house?
Yeah, yeah. But again,
But of course you do. Yeah, because you're a dork for collecting a lot. Because what I have is I have cayenne. I've powdered, right? I have powdered chili pepper.
Yeah.
I have powdered cayenne. And then that's it. And then, um, I did just order a bunch of seeds because I can't seem to get through to my garden center. And we're redoing the backyard garden to make it, we're building it up so that we can sit in our twilight years and reach the middle of the garden and still weed. So I'm trying right now to grow tomatoes from seeds.
Oh, interesting.
And they are, I don't know that they're taking. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that Grandma used to do it, and that's how she grew tomatoes. She would dry the seeds.
She was a seed saver too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You might want to try this thing. We have a thing called an arrow garden, and it's hydroponic. So.
What's that?
I bought it during Prime Day last year.
What is it? Is it a?
It's like a grow light with water, like a fertilized water.
Oh.
And it grows herbs and tomatoes. But we're going to use it this year to sprout because we're in a shutdown right now. Although the shutdown does not include the farmers markets.
Oh, it doesn't include the farmers markets?
Yeah, but we're concerned that we will not be able to get started plants.
Right. Well, that's where I'm at. I can't get through. I think all the starter plants. There's been a run, a bit of a run on the nurseries, and I get it.
Yeah, people are doing victory gardens. I mean, if you think about it, think about our childhood. We had, canned tomatoes, canned green beans, canned grape leaves.
Right. Did she grow okra too, Grandma?
No.
She bought okra.
She must not have enjoyed pickles because she grew pickling cucumbers, but she never pickled them.
Right. She must not have liked pickles. Yeah.
Yeah, okra doesn't grow in that climate very well. And if you do have a chance to grow it, it's in the orchid family, and it's a beautiful flower. It's actually worth growing just for the flower.
Well, we've grown it. Only 1 year did we plant enough okra plants to get
a meal.
Yeah, to get enough okra at once. Otherwise, you're just eating tiny, amazingly beautiful okra, but you're just eating them raw. Like you're picking it and going, oh, there's only going to be 3 of them, and
we'll eat them. Yeah.
So then that's what we did, and I've been, I about 15 years ago, we moved into this house, right? Andy bought the house. We moved in, and I wanted a garden because his Uncle Joe had tomatoes right out of the garden, and I had forgotten how amazing they taste. And so I've planted, the first 4 years that I planted the garden, it was amazing. And then it turns out I am not a farmer. So I forgot to put nutrients back into the land. And so the last 10 years, hit and miss when I kind of remember to put fertilizer down.
Kind of have to do crop rotation as well.
Right. Well, I automatically crop rotated, and it lasted, and it did pretty good. And we were doing composting, but we didn't turn the compost like we're doing everything pretty half-assed is what I'm saying. Yeah. And
I've seized this wartime, during the war here to finally set up the composter. So,
oh, good.
That's a bonus of the coronavirus.
Right. It's the fact that we have this time to actually make things look right and do right.
Yeah.
Which, every day I work pretty hard to stay grateful, that I have a place to hunker down, and that I do have the internet, and I can do dork forests, and I can do stand up, and I can talk to people every day face to face. So
it's a good thing.
Just plugging along. Here's what I want to know. Let's back up. What's a butter chicken?
Oh, it's an Indian dish. It's delicious.
How do you make it?
Well, it's a bunch of Indian spices that are sautéed with butter and garlic, and again, chicken thighs.
Okay.
Ate the breast.
What are Indian
cream.
spices?
Ginger, turmeric,
Ginger and turmeric. Do you use fresh ginger?
garlic, onion. Yeah.
Okay.
Powdered ginger is not a thing. And in fact, most people don't ever swap out their spices.
Yeah.
So it's sort of annoying because they get old and gross.
Because they can lose their potency?
They do, yeah. So the one thing I would always say is that on the first of the year,
Yeah.
Maybe not this year because who knows what that will bring us. I swap out all of the dried spices.
Okay.
So, so it's one of the things you should always buy in bulk, especially things you don't use a ton of.
Because then you can buy a little?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it stays fresh. It has tomato in it, and
are you looking at the menu? Is that why you're a little muffled?
Oh, sorry about that.
I was like, are you looking at a recipe?
Well, I just was trying to remind myself of all of the things that are in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the kids love it.
Is it a
Indian
rub?
food. No. It's more like a cream sauce.
Oh.
Yeah.
So butter and all of those spices, and then you essentially cook it in a pan?
Yeah, it's called butter chicken, but it's like yogurt. I happen to use buttermilk.
Okay.
Because I only had fruit flavored yogurts. So.
Well, I'm happy to know that you didn't settle.
No. Right, butter raspberry chicken. So, but
Go-gurt.
yeah, it's really good. And then and so it's again another way. Like if I'm lucky I have kids who will eat this, but I also threw in a bunch of veggies with it. I had a kohlrabi and some cauliflower.
Okay.
And so it was a way of incorporating those things into the dish as well.
Do you just cut them like bite size?
Bite size. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they are just part of the cream sauce that you.
It's basically like a chicken and gravy with Indian spices. So
okay.
Kind of hard to go wrong.
That is kind of hard to go wrong. Indian spices being delicious.
Exactly.
Here's a meal that I remember you made that was amazing, which was a ramen. Do you remember that ramen? Where it took you like a day to coddle the egg or some damn thing?
Oh, that was the one and only time I came home or Sam came home and I said, I believe I have bitten off more than I can chew.
Well, that's because you made it for a lot of people, right?
50 people. Yeah, 2 seatings of 25 each.
Well, you made it for Andy and I once.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, at the old house.
Cool. Oh, yeah, maybe I did. Yeah, I also did that same meal I made for 50 people. So I don't know what I was thinking. My friend Eli was doing this really neat thing with trying to get people to eat together, and like as a way of building community.
Right.
And so he was inviting people just to come be the guest chef in his apartment.
Oh, wow.
Which that was the other thing. Yeah. Not exactly like your state-of-the-art.
Professional kitchen,
right? Like trying to keep water boiled on a crappy old stove. It was so much fun, though.
It's amazing now that it's over.
Yeah, it was really crazy, but because I had to make, I did have to make 50 soft-boiled eggs. So
right, and they're soft-boiled, but there's something else happening with them, right?
Yeah, you do like a 7-minute soft-boiled egg, and then slice them in half. And
well, what's the brown? Aren't they in like a soy sauce? It's not a soy sauce, but
no, I didn't make a tea egg. No.
Okay, what's a tea egg?
I'm gonna make tea eggs though. I've never made them. You get them at the Chinese market though, but they're hard-boiled eggs that are then you kind of crinkle the outside of the egg and you soak them in a soy, mirin, ginger, 5-spice powder.
Wow.
And the boy loves them. I mean, again.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he might not eat like a hunk of steak.
Right.
But it's hard to complain about a kid whose idea of a good meal is tea eggs.
You're like, I need to go to a Chinese restaurant. And you're like, yes, you do.
Yeah.
Because it's one of your favorites. Yeah. So what, do you ever just make a plain vegetable for them?
Yeah, all the time. Like just a boiled.
Just
broccoli.
a steamed or a boiled, like, what do they like?
Yes. In the words Julia Child, a well-cooked vegetable.
Yes.
Broccoli, asparagus. They really like. I made and I actually got this recipe I think off the New York Times. Brussels sprouts the other day, which I love, and they actually loved. So it was just you cut the Brussels sprouts in half, put them down, heat up a cast iron pan with oil, a little bit of oil, put them flat side down.
Right.
And let them get a really good crust on them, and then a bunch of chopped garlic on top, and throw them in the oven. And when they come out of the oven, just drizzle a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar on them.
Ooh.
Just to sweeten it up a little bit. And they gobbled those up like I'd made candy for them.
So you didn't salt and pepper them. You just cut them in half and then sort of seared them?
Yep.
And then
roasted them.
And then you put garlic and then into the oven? Fresh garlic on top and then baked them?
Yeah, I'm sure I threw some salt on it because you should salt it.
Right, a little bit of salt and pepper is not going to kill anybody.
Yeah,
so
I'm not a pepper fan, but
Andy Ashcraft loves black pepper. Yeah. He is a fan of the black pepper, and luckily, it's available. It's one of those things. It's one of those things. I made a chicken yesterday, and I thought about doing many things to that chicken, but what I mostly did was sharpen our knives. Talk about a quarantine thing that you can do. Is I had not sharpened those knives in probably 2 years. We've just been, living in danger every time you use an unsharpened knife.
Well, I think it's funny that you say that, though, because I was listening to some podcasts, and they were talking about, and it actually might have been Mark Maron on
WTF?
Sporkful. No, on the Sporkful.
Okay.
Talking about this need for people to have the right tools, which is ironic because remember, Dad used to say that whenever he needed to fix something. I just don't have the right tools.
I don't have the right tools, and I'm never buying them. Was the unspoken end of that sentence.
But I think about, yes, knives should be sharp. And if you can afford a decent knife. But it doesn't have to be a $100 knife.
No.
And it can be, again, if you're at the Asian market, they have really good cheap knives there that are sharp.
Yeah.
My favorite knife actually is was like $20.
Okay. And it's sort of like a big cleavery kind of thing?
No, it's just a regular 8-inch chef's knife, but it's much lighter than the ones I used to use when I cooked professionally.
Yeah.
And it's easy to keep sharp because I sharpen it probably every other week. And if I ruin it, I don't care.
Oh, that's true too.
But yeah, I mean, people get kind of worked up on having the right tools, and the tools you need are a decent knife, a clean cutting board, a pot to boil water and make soup in, and a frying pan, and you don't need super fancy. And I have all the fancy stuff. So
right, everybody, a lot of people have the fancy stuff, and they're sitting
and don't cook.
And do not cook. They're like, I'm gonna cook when I have all the fancy stuff. And I know that when we moved in, my responsibility when we moved in together, Andy bought the house. I bought the appliances. So I bought the stove, the fridge, the washer, and the dryer. And each of them was $450. And bought them in 2004. And they're all still working, chugging along, but they are not, they're not fancy. They're just very basic fridge stove. The stove is gas. I like gas more than electric
Gas only. Yeah.
because you can control the flame better.
Yeah.
But I know that people swear by like convection ovens. And
ours is has a convection component to it. And again, I mean, the biggest thing with your oven is to have a thermometer, so you know what the actual temperature is of your oven. So, and you can buy them inexpensively. You probably can't right now on Amazon, because I don't think it's like a crucial thing.
oh yeah, I tried to buy USB sticks. They told me they're going to come in a month. It turns out they're not essential.
Right.
I don't blame them. I recorded an episode of The Dork Forest with Jim Wooster, and he doesn't have a USB stick, and his Wi-Fi was so terrible it would not upload the file from Zencastr. We're recording this, by the way, on Zoom, and then also Audacity to see if, and then you're going to send me that file. You sound a little muddy, but hopefully everybody can hear what's being said. And
I'm not sending you a file, by the way.
Oh, that's right. We're doing it all from my computer. That's right. Because we were having trouble with Zencastr. So, but what I will say...
I've invested all of my money in cooking gear, not in computer equipment.
Right. Your laptop might need to be replaced at some point.
Yeah.
But I will say that... I'm talking to my sister, Darla Kashian, and it's at Bossy Magoo, one G. And what are your favorite meals? We have about 15 minutes left, so you can describe, like, if you didn't have to cook for others. And I know that you love cooking for others and sort of fulfilling their dreams, but if you could make the meal and then everybody would love it as much as you would love it, what would that meal be? Or one of them?
Yeah. So, we have a standard Friday night Shabbat dinner.
Okay.
That I do love. And it's salmon. Just Atlantic salmon from...
That's a fish.
Foods.
Yep.
What we call Shabbat potatoes, which are thin sliced potatoes in a cast iron skillet, baked to be crispy. So, like super thin, like potato chip thin.
Okay.
And then you just put them in a rosette type, 2 layers, and they're super crispy. And some kind of good green veg, any of them will do.
Oh, just a sort of a simple fish, potatoes, and veg?
Really simple. Yeah, and just salt on the salmon, and it's delicious. And, probably my favorite... Like, if I think about things that we, like the sort of growing up memories of things I loved, I'm sitting right now on 4.5 or 5 pound boneless leg of lamb.
Okay.
I'll probably cut up into a couple of different options. But I love lamb of any sort.
Yeah, I really love lamb.
Yeah.
I like lamb chops. I like lamb stew.
Yep. Beans,
Yeah.
One of the things we do, and this again with the dried beans, if you bought white beans, we'll do what we call meat and beans, which are like maybe oxtails or short ribs or, some kind of braising type meat.
Okay.
So, again, saute onion, garlic, carrots, and celery, and the whatever the stew, slow braising meat is,
right?
And throw in a couple handfuls of dry white beans and a bottle of red wine if you have that, and if not, just some stock,
right?
And throw it in the oven and let it cook. And again, it makes the house smell good. It takes a couple hours, and it's easy. So that's kind of a favorite. If I'm going out to eat, always Korean food. So
you love Korean food.
I do.
It's and then you turned me on to the beef soup.
Yep.
Which yukaijang, or I've always said it incorrectly, or the people at the restaurant don't want to cut me some slack. But it's delicious and it is super spicy.
Yeah.
Like
So
literally,
I'll look forward to doing that when
we're allowed out.
the war is over.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that the other thing is that I do like to make 3 meals a day. So, it's very funny because I'm also homeschooling the kids. So we sort of started with this, like they should make breakfast.
Okay.
But they're very accustomed to coming down to breakfast in the morning. And I will have made them crepes or homemade waffles. This is during the week.
Right.
Toad in the hole, big favorite. Other people call it different things.
Egg in a basket.
Egg in a basket. They're used to having a hot breakfast every day.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit of like, we had breakfast every day. Our stepmother was a terrible cook.
Terrible cook, but it was hot.
I want to prove things can be done differently.
Things can always be done differently, but she never liked cooking. I will say, in her defense. Though I will say that it's very funny to me that I think a couple of her favorite movies was that Mary Poppins movie and The Sound of Music, which are stories about like governesses and stepmothers that were really good at shit. And she tried,
Awesome.
but it turns out it's a lot of work.
Some people get hired for jobs that they shouldn't take. So we've been having a lot of fun. Also, like this is, we have a lot of time. So Judah and I made cheese last weekend.
Wow.
We made ricotta cheese, and then Noah turned it into a cheesecake.
Oh, and then she baked a cheesecake because she likes to bake, right? You're not a big baker.
I bake bread.
You bake bread.
So then it was the big debate about what to do with the whey, which it seemed very wasteful to just throw away the whey.
Yeah.
Apparently that's, so I made bread dough with the whey, which I haven't actually baked it yet.
So we will see.
We were still able to get baguettes.
Okay. Are you doing much takeout?
Once a week.
Okay.
So we're trying to support our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yesterday we walked a mile and got 2 pizzas, and then walked home with the pizzas.
Okay.
So was both exercise and economic development all at once.
Exactly, in an effort, and to be of some use. I like it.
So those are kind of the things that.
Have you ever tried to make any of that Korean food?
Not really. We make Scallion Pancakes once in a while, but
what are those?
I'm the only one who likes it in the house.
Oh, okay.
It's like when you go out for dim sum, it's flat.
Is it just eggs and scallion, or is it like a frittata?
No, it's actually like a pancake. So
it's pancake batter with scallions in it?
Yeah, it's a wheat dough, but a dry wheat dough, so more like a noodle almost. Like they're you roll them out really thin, but it's a dense dough
that you make you don't pour it like pancakes. You roll it?
No, you roll it and then roll scallions into it and then fry them. Oh,
interesting.
Yeah, they're delicious.
I know that I've had them, but I never knew what the hell they were made of. I always thought it was kind of like an egg frittata kind of thing. But it is not anything like that.
Nope. But delicious.
Yep. What are your favorite soups to make? I love making a soup, so now I'm just picking your brain.
Well, it is the cool thing about the Instapot, right? Is that it's an easy soup. So,
I haven't made soup yet in the Instapot. We have an R2D2 Instapot that Andy got for Christmas.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, I mean, one thing is, like with chicken, it makes just an incredibly rich chicken stock.
Okay.
I love French onion soup. Oh my gosh. So what I love to do is to make a pot roast.
Okay.
And then you have the leftover broth from the pot roast that
Yeah.
makes a fantastic base for a stock for a chicken or for a French onion soup.
Oh, really?
So, which is a beef-based broth. So, and then you can get kids to eat onion soup if you put a crouton with cheese on it.
So you just like an onion soup, and the crouton and the cheese are just gravy on. It's just.
Yeah, I don't care about that, but
it's fine.
Other people do.
People do love it.
But yeah, I really do love a good, and you can make a good. Onion soup is one of the things I think that lends itself well to if you're a vegan.
Okay.
Where you use a vegetable stock, and then if you want to get some of that meaty flavor, to use a smoked sun-dried tomato.
Really?
A little bit of the meat flavor.
Remember when sun-dried tomatoes were in everything?
Oh my God. Yeah.
They went too far. And then none of us wanted sun-dried tomatoes for years.
It's so funny, though, because I had leftover tomatoes that were sort of rounding the bend. And so I oven dried them.
Okay.
And then put them in oil with Italian dried herbs. And so they'll go on a pizza at some point.
Okay.
So that they didn't go to waste.
Yeah.
Because we're not, we're trying not to waste.
Right. I think I think that it's this planet clearly would like us all to die. And I am sympathetic.
Or at least some percentage of us.
I'm sympathetic, but not supportive. And but the fact that we're learning how not to waste and how to sort of be with our families and be with our loved ones, or even be alone is an interesting social experiment that will have repercussions, obviously, right? But I think that it's if people can keep their spirits up a little bit, that we can come out of this kind of stronger, Yeah,
when Lori Kilmartin was in town, what seems like a year ago,
right? But was actually 4 months ago,
in February. I was able to get a Jackie and Lori notebook.
Oh, very nice.
I think you might have given it to me.
I did.
Also in town that weekend. And that's what I've been using for my COVID-19 journal.
And what are you journaling?
Just every day, like what's it like, and.
Okay, and so and sort of how you're coping, and are you using it to sort of blurt stuff out to sort of get it off your chest, or diary wise, or
and some of when you see something meaningful to write it down, or
that's neat.
The kids had a gratitude project that they did for their religious school, and so I used my book for that.
Because you were like, may I listen in?
Right.
Whenever anybody
do this,
right? Whenever anybody does something that I'm like, that's a good idea. How can I just lean into and try to get a little bit of that on me?
Exactly.
Just a little bit of gratitude.
And so that's also been fun, just to say, like, hey, on this day we made cheese, and we'd never made cheese before, and now we have goat milk in the fridge, and we're going to make goat cheese maybe today or tomorrow.
Well, that's kind of amazing. Do you remember how to make yogurt?
Yes.
How do I make yogurt? I need whole milk.
Instapot. You need whole milk, and you need some yogurt starter, which can just be a cup of
decent yogurt, right?
Yeah, or even not decent, but it's got to have live culture in it.
Okay.
So if you go on the Google, it'll tell you how to do it in the Instapot.
Oh.
Yeah, because it keeps a specific temperature.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grandma just used to make it in the oven.
Yeah, Grandma made it in the oven, but I didn't know she turned the oven on. Interesting. I forget about the hotting up of the yogurt.
Yeah.
To make more yogurt, you just need whole milk.
Yeah, and ricotta, you just need an acidulant, is what I learned.
What is that?
Heat it up and like a lemon juice or lemon.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
our lemons and oranges are fully ripe right now. We're not going to get scurvy here in Van Nuys.
So you could make some preserved lemon, actually.
Right. And stick it in a thing.
Chop up the lemons and put them in salt.
How long does that take?
as long as it takes to chop up the lemons and put them in salt.
No. How long does it take to make the lemon preserved?
You put it in the fridge for like a week or two.
Oh, okay. And then you got a preserved lemon.
Yeah, which you can use in all kinds of delicious things.
Hey, you know what? I'm really hoping that the audio on this is okay because this was fascinating, and we're at an hour, by the way.
Okay, and if not, we'll do it again.
We'll have to do it again. Let's not wait 7 years.
Okay, but let's go have a steak sandwich again sometime.
Let's. All right, and Rangers, you know the rules out there. Take care of each other.
My hat, my hat, my hat. They're dancing around my hat, my hat, my hat, my hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?